It's probably a good moment for Ken to come in. The Ken is Secretary of the Campaign Against Climate Change Trade Union Group and is planned to say a few words from the platform. But do you want to? It's up to you, Ken. But I think it's probably a good chat time, and then we'll come back to some of these.
It might be better for the camera.
Okay, well, because I'm Secretary of the Trade Union Group of Campaign Against Climate Change, I kind of want to speak on both issues. I want to talk about the global environmental issues, because John's spoken very well about the local environmental issues. But I also want to say a little bit in defence of trade unions on this, or at least the mitigation of trade unions on this. I mean, first and foremost, Chris hasn't shown up. I'm sure if he doesn't show up, it'll be for unavoidable reasons. Because to be positive, first of all, a number of trade unions have really given the lead on this. PCS and TSSA, been very active in pushing the environmental issues, and there's been real progress within the trade union movement in recent years. Delighted to hear that NUT has affiliated to Campaign Against Climate Change. I've been chasing Bola for God knows how long on this. But also there are really other significant things. I mean, we now have 7 national trade unions backing the 1 Million Climate Jobs campaign. Back in September, the International TUC for the very first time called a global summit on the climate for trade unions, and there were 60 delegates from around the world there, and they were pledged to work with campaign groups to really take the issue into the public. Nonetheless, we do have to recognise that there is tremendous unevenness in this, and the unevenness particularly within Unite itself, because Unite backs the 1 Million Climate Jobs campaign, then also it backs the runway. And I just want to say, I don't want to go on at great length about this, I do want people to understand the kind of pressure that are on trade unions, particularly around the issue of jobs. Both defending jobs and creating new jobs, because the employment situation is so awful at the moment. I mean, most people going into work have no security, have no control of their work conditions, etc., and no trade union representation. I was a branch officer before I retired from teaching in FE for 37 years as a branch secretary or branch chair, and in that time we had many bitter struggles to defend jobs. I don't want to go on a great length about that. And sometimes we had to come to compromises and take short-term solutions. That's what happens, because the first role of trade unions is to defend their members' interests in work. So, nobody's going to rail against Unite. We have to keep nudging Unite, work with them where they can, and to make sure that as well as talking the talk, they start to walk the walk. And that means getting to the regional offices, because the national officials are happy to pronounce that there's 1 Million Climate Jobs, and then the kind of hedging goes on at the next level down. We have to be patient and work on that, but there are positive advances. Having said that, and having recognised the importance of defending and creating jobs for trade unions, which is the main motivation behind the big unions being in favour of the third runway, having said all that, we have to recognise that some jobs have to go. So jobs in fracking have to go. Jobs in mining and drilling for oil exploration have to go. Some of those are dying industries anyway. The coal industry globally is dying fast. And in the longer term, aviation has to be, jobs have to go in aviation, because aviation has to be limited. And that's because aviation has such a damaging effect upon the global environment. So what is it? It contributes something like 1% of the greenhouse gas emissions produced in Britain. 53 million tonnes of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. And we have to recognise that, while trade unions defending and creating jobs is of prior importance, there is a bigger importance. And the bigger importance has to do with the rapid advance of devastating climate change. Just to give a few examples, the terrible fire in Alberta is put down to a combination of climate change and the El Nino effect. Other catastrophic events already happening around the world as a direct result of climate change. Well, I do have sleepless nights about this, I have to admit. There are 20 million people live in Karachi. Their water has dried up because the Indus River has dried up. They have no regular water supply. They have a tank of water come once every 15 days. The water is provided on the black market. They find it cheaper to buy new clothes than to wash their clothes, and they drink salty water. 20 million people. And that's at the current level of climate change, round about 1 degree above pre-industrial condition. That is the future for many people in the world under climate change. It's not the long-term future, it's not the immediate, medium-term future, it's the short-term future. Many people face that. And climate change, potentially devastating climate change, is happening much more rapidly than even the climate scientists thought 10 years ago. So not only was last year the hottest year on record, but from September every single month it's been the hottest year on record. Last September was the hottest September ever recorded. Last October was the hottest October ever recorded. And right the way through every month to last April, the hottest April ever recorded. And the global average temperatures during some of those months are going up to 1.5 degree above pre-industrial conditions. This is happening very, very rapidly. And I'm afraid all the induced euphoria around the Paris Agreement, it's, for want of a better phrase, so much hot air. Because they're saying, well, we're going to aim to keep down to 2 degrees above pre-industrial conditions. They don't say how, or any regulation or any enforcement, so they're going to stop aiming to do that. They hope to keep it below 1.5. We're already reaching beyond 1.5 periodically over the course of the year. And this holds devastating consequences for human beings. Now, I don't think we go to the unions with negative messages like that. We know from 50 years of advertising that fear threat messages don't work. It's kind of encouraging that the International TUC have adopted the slogan, there are no jobs on a dead planet, but I actually think that kind of negative thing is not effective. What's much more important is to go to the unions with positive things and to say the industries of the future are to do with tackling climate change. Already, there's been a steady increase of jobs in renewables, despite the action of the government to do everything to stop that. There has been within private industry, but it's not going to happen fast enough. So we argue, through the 1 Million Climate Jobs campaign, that it really needs government action to initiate a systematic programme for tackling climate change and controlling energy waste. I'm not going to go into all the details because otherwise I'll talk too long, and also you can read it in the report on creating 1 million climate jobs, or you can download it. If you don't buy it from me today, you can download it from the internet by googling 1 million climate jobs. The key thing here is we're talking about something systematic, not left to the market. It won't happen fast enough if it's left to the market, and we're seeing how haphazard the whole business has been if it's just left to private industry. It has to be systematic, and particularly it has to be systematic. We argue for a national climate service, like the National Health Service, because it has to involve redeploying and retraining people. So that if people lose their jobs in open cast mining, we can guarantee them, as close as possible, an equivalent job in tackling climate change. And if people lose jobs in shipbuilding, they can be involved in building tidal generators and so on and so forth. We have to come forward with a positive message, and I think it's really important we go to the unions and we don't say, for God's sake, if you don't stop fighting for those jobs, or if you don't stop defending those jobs, the planet is in peril. I don't think that works. We have to go and say, look, there are industries that are going to decline. They are sunset industries, and they are declining now. Why don't you be proactive and work with us in defining ways in which workers can be trained and redeployed in the sunrise industries? Because the industries of the future, if there is any sense in the world, are going to be industries tackling climate change. So, even though it's very easy to get gloomy, despondent, and frustrated with trade unions, incidentally, you're not absolutely correct about TUC. I mean, the TUC Congress has passed 2 motions on to do with climate change. In 2011, they wanted 1 million green jobs. Last year, 1 million climate jobs. They're inching their way close to actually backing the campaign. No, I think we have to be positive. Or, what was it, Gramsci said, we have to be pessimists of the intellect and optimists of the will. But I think we can be a little bit optimistic of the intellect as well.
Thank you, Ken.